Hello there, Margarita Alcantara here, activator for the new code of power. Welcome to the Rise Up with Margarita show, which is my weekly show every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And today's topic is the number one thing leaders of light need to remember now. And so I'm just going to go right into it because this is something that I'm really seeing as an important factor for a lot of leaders of light who are emerging right now, who are light workers and starseeds, empaths, and it's really our time now. It's your time to really shine and really be seen and heard and all that goodness. And so I wanted to take today's topic because as some of you may have known, last week I didn't have a live show because I was on vacation. And so what actually happened is that I sent out a replay to those on my email list. And the truth is that Instagram and Facebook were both out of commission for the majority of the day. And a lot of light workers and spiritual people in the community, they were talking about it's Mercury retrograde and here it is, right? And the truth is, it's one of those things where you get to kind of see that things are a little bit more deeper than just, calling things out in that way, right? And the truth is, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And for those light workers who are really going deeper in their own sovereignty, deeper in their own mastery, that's something that gets revealed, when you do that inner work. And so today's topic, for those of you just joining us, is the number one thing leaders of light need to remember now. And so I bring up the outage with Facebook and Instagram last week because, like many people that you probably saw, everyone and their mom, like around like 5 p.m. when it went back up, were all saying, well, this is the reason why, I have a mailing list. Right. And that is exactly true. I was, in fact, one of those people on my IG story saying, yeah, you know what, this is exactly the reason why you want to have an email list. And that is something that I help my private clients really establish with the opt-ins and the free gifts and all that other stuff, because what I offer is actually a lot deeper than just really powerful activations, which in itself is a really big game changer. But when you pair that together with the know-how as a spiritually conscious entrepreneur, showing up as a leader of light in the world, then you also get to understand all these pieces that are at work, such as, having your mailing list in place, such as growing it, such as, social media and visibility, and what does that look like for you. So yes, I totally do agree that it is time for you, if you haven't already, start your email list, because the truth is that your social media like Instagram and Facebook is a third party platform. It's free, which is why I'm on it all the time, right? But it's not mine, right? So my email list, though, is mine. And so thankfully, I've built it to such an extent that I am not dependent on my social media, even though that's doing well, especially on Instagram. And so that's the thing, is that you get to also see, and the whole takeaway is not do your email list, which is one of the things that you do want to do, but it's also you get to lead your movement as a leader of light, no matter what is going on in the world. So no matter if there's some tech issue on a global level going on, or there's something else going on, and there's so many layers going on right now, as you well know. So that's something to remember. And when you want to lead your movement, no matter what's going on in the world, you must be in your power. And being in your power is a lot more, and I'll share a little bit about what being in your power looks like. Being in your power is a lot more than just saying, hey, I feel powerful today, or I'm having a good day. I'm in my power now, right? Or you get a download and you say, okay, now I'm in my power. And it's like, the truth is, being in your power is a lot more deeper than that. It does begin with choosing your power and it does continue with being consistently in your power. And so when you're not in your power, or if you are, it actually reflects in every aspect of your life. So if you think that being in your power only applies to your spiritual growth, think again, because it'll show up in your relationships, whether or not you're in your power. It'll show up in your business, whether or not you're in your power. It'll show up in your body and how you perceive and experience your body and your physical experience based on whether or not you're in your power. And it doesn't mean that when you're in your power, nothing bad is going on or nothing unpleasant is happening. The truth is that that's life. There are challenges. And the leaders of light are the ones that step up and step through and transcend into the next level of their power, no matter what's going on in the world. And that's why it's really important to be in your power, number one, to choose it, number two. That should be actually the reverse. It's choosing your power, being in your power, and doing what you need to do in order to be in it, right? And so for me, I help my private clients really accelerate on that pathway through power activation work, mentorship. I don't do single sessions, by the way, because I get that question often. And so here's what you need to remember in regards to being in your power right now. So first of all, if you're feeling overwhelmed with what's going on in the world, you're not alone, right? Like I pick up on the frequency too, and it's not enough to say, oh, I'm an empath, I feel everything, and that kind of thing, and then you shut down and you don't show up in the world. Because I'm an empath too, right? But there's the possibility of being in one or two camps, right? Either you can be an invisible, disempowered light worker, or a disempowered, invisible empath, or you can be an empowered one. And so the one who is disempowered, who's feeling invisible, is going to just stay overwhelmed, because it's not that you are overwhelmed, because everyone does get that way sometimes, but it's what you do with that overwhelm. And so it's a matter of, those who are not in their power, they stay in the overwhelm, they stay stuck there, and they don't work through those or address that, right? Whereas an empowered empath actually doesn't take on everyone's energy, number one. And I know that I get a lot of slack from that, from those empaths who are like, no, it's our responsibility to take care of people's energies. It is not. It is not, because the truth is, I've been doing this for quite some time. I've been in private practice for a little over 12 years now, doing healing work. And the fastest way to burnout and wrecking your soul is taking on everyone else's problems as your own. Because number one, that robs everyone of their own sovereignty. And number two, then you get clogged up with other people's energies, and then you can't tell what your own is, right? So when you are feeling overwhelmed, be that empowered empath who doesn't take on everyone else's energies and problems and issues and journeys. Kind of specify your energy frequency, because that's what leaders of light do. They get connected with their energy, they clear their energy on a regular basis, they fortify their energy, so then they get really connected with what that energy imprint feels like. And and then they really transcend and see with what's it called? Kind of like that greater perspective, right? That eagle eye perspective. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, that in itself, completely understandable, because there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of layers happening right now. And what's going on right now is it's a temporal war, meaning that there are a lot of planes and different levels where this war is going on, because it's not just happening on Earth, okay? It's happening, there are cosmic wars going on that people don't know about. There's wars going on inside the Earth, which is why you see all kinds of interesting flares going on and popping out of the Earth in specific locations. There's a lot going on that people are not aware of. And so it's happening on many different levels. And so if you are feeling it, there's a reason why. Okay. And there are many moving pieces. And what's really happening here is that even though I hear from a lot of light workers, those mostly who are not feeling very empowered, who are saying, oh my God, artificial power and greed and manipulation, they're winning. And the truth is they're not. They're actually losing their grip. The old paradigm and the false programming, that scarcity programming that is really going rampant and the volume of which has been turned up right now, all of that is actually losing its grip, losing its hold. And that's why they're amping it up right now. It's kind of like, as you've heard me say, it's a last ditch attempt to really, kind of make the collective, you and me believe that, we're effed, basically, right? And we're not. The reality is that the old paradigm is divinely falling apart, crumbling away, and the way that it looks like is chaos. And that's exactly what's going on right now. So just realize that when you see this around you, you don't take what's going on at face value, especially not from mainstream news, which I do not recommend, because I would say 98% of it is untrue and full of illusion, meant to really, keep you in that scarcity programming. Really, really allow, this is where we get to allow and surrender to our power, meaning you get to surrender to how amazing and how powerful you are, rather than resisting yourself and stopping yourself, right? This is a time for you to step up. This is a time for you to be heard, to be seen, to do your thing, to radiate out into the atmosphere and with your amazingness, right? So coming back to the number one thing that light leaders need to know right now, it's really all about being in your power and leading your movement no matter what happens, right? So taking for example, what I mentioned earlier about when Facebook and Instagram went down and everyone was going to hell in a handbasket, right? And it's just social media. It's just social media, I'm on it all the time, like every day, and it ain't my life, but it's my way of, one of the ways, of really connecting with those I really want to connect with. And so just know that, when you really cultivate your power, you develop this ownership of 100% responsibility in your life. You start to develop trust in your path, no matter what it's looking like, right? Because a lot of what we are feeling right now about our energy system is really about, not being distracted and staying focused. And speaking of which, I'm noticing, and I'm seeing a comment here, that there's yet another person trying to be me. And the truth is, they haven't broken into my account or anything like that. They're just trying to be me and, basically get money from people. And I'm going to just speak about this briefly because this comes up every so often, like people trying to be me, trying to pretend like they have my account, and they just basically take screenshots, right? And they might include like an underscore somewhere. I don't have any underscores. I don't have any special characters, and it's just this single account. And I will never offer psychic readings because I don't do that. I don't do session readings like that. I might do that sometimes for my private clients, but that's, after I've had a phone conversation with them, gotten to know them and seeing what they need and all that goodness, right? I don't be like, hey, friending you now, give me money, that ain't my style, So if you ever see anything like that, make sure that you report them, number one, and then make sure you block them. And also, I'm just loving some of these DMs that you're giving me, because some of you are just, you guys are really intuitive and you guys are pretty feisty. I'll just say that, right? And so some of you have been like, I told them about themselves and then they blocked me, right? So like you actually were able to have the spam account of the person trying to be me to actually block you because you're so on point. So, kudos to you for those of you who are really catching on to that. And so yeah, just make sure you report, block them, be done with it. This is all just distraction. I'm not even investing in it, right? So coming back to this aspect of being in your power is that's how you do it, right? You acknowledge what's going on. You don't be like, oh no, it's not happening. That's called spiritual bypassing, by the way, which many spiritual people do. I am not one of those types of people. I am also not that enabler healer. So if you've come here to be enabled in your pain and suffering and to say, yes, I totally agree with you, then you're barking up the wrong tree, because I'm going to be here to like really kind of bring in that platinum sword and just cut through the bullshit. And so there is a difference between true power and false power. And you can't be in your power unless you can tell the difference. So, in order to bust through the outdated patterns that are holding you back from your power, you must first recognize what is false power, how it is showing up in your life, and understand that, if it's falling apart, around you, because it's not, a lot of what's going on in the world, it's a reflection of what's going on with the collective, really. And so rather than point fingers, which is really the victimhood, right? It's like, oh, they did this to me or they did that to me, right? And of course, there's a lot going on, right? And at the same time, empowered light leaders, they don't point the fingers at other people. They say, what can I do to take ownership of my part in this and rectify this? And also, how can I help? Right? That's what a leader of light does. They don't sit there and bitch and moan and complain, right? They do their work for themselves, whatever they need to clear and address, and then they show up and are like, what, how can I help? How can I be of service here? Right? So I'm going to share with you what some of the differences are between true power and false power so that you have an idea. So true power is connected to God. Okay, number one. I know that that's not really popular right now. In fact, like it's being banned all over the place to talk about God and all this other stuff, right? But the truth is, that is part of the programming. See through the programming, my loves. That is part of the programming to get you disconnected from your divinity. Okay, that's the real war here, is to divorce you from your divine self and your divine consciousness. Okay, so I'm bringing this to your attention. Some of you may be aware of this, some of you may not be. And here's the point, is that, take ownership of your relationship with your divine self. Take ownership of your relationship with God, okay? Whatever that looks like to you, great spirit, universe, source, whatever you want to call it, but make sure that you connect with God, because that is what's under attack right now. And so true power is connected to God, your sovereignty, meaning, you as a sovereign being, meaning that you are a powerful being, and being able to be like, you know what, I am a sovereign being. I take ownership of who I am, that kind of thing, right? And being sovereign means that you have full autonomy on who you are and how you live your life, what you do with your body and what you do in the world, right? Like that is full on sovereignty, taking full on ownership of your entire life, right? And so true power is also connected to your heart power. And so it's not just about, having your heart or, having this heart chakra. It's about really understanding that your heart is a power center. It holds intelligence. It actually holds the light technology in your heart that when activated, it actually just opens up into the rest of your being, infiltrates into the rest of your life, and affects everything in your life. True power is also connected to the earth, to Mother Gaia. And there's a lot of, attempt to disconnect you from Gaia as well, right? And the truth is that's kind of like a losing battle, because, I connect with Gaia every day, and she's, she's on. She is on, she's ascending just like we are ascending. And, it's up to you to take ownership of being connected to her in that new earth grid, because she actually told me that there is a new earth grid that has come online. The old grid, is no longer energized because she's upgrading, and so is her grid. So, that's something that I helped the participants who were there at the 8-8 portal, who were there at the gateway activation that I performed. That's something I helped them land into. And also I helped my private clients with that too. So it's connected to the earth, your true power, because it's important to get grounded. It's important to get the fresh air. It's important to have your feet in the soil and just like be still, hug the trees, like I know that some people, make fun of people like that, but there's actual science behind that, right? And actually, I'm also a Chinese medicine practitioner, and there's actually chi work that you can do with the tree, in a reciprocal way, to build your chi and also to connect with the trees, you know. So that's something that you can do. Another aspect of true power is connected to taking 100% responsibility for your light and what you create with it. So that means everything, right? So all your fuck ups, all the amazing things you do, everything that's not yet fully formed, that you're questioning, that you're not sure about, take ownership of all of it, right? Because when you do, then you start bringing yourself out of victimhood. And when you start bringing yourself out of that victimhood of like, all of this is happening to me, then you start going into that transcendence where you are like, everything's happening for me, right? Because leaders of light think that way. I think that way, so even though shit is hitting the fan, certainly I have my moment. And then, maybe like a few hours and then I'm done, right? And then I'm like, okay, what is the lesson here? And how is this working for me? So that's really, really important. Into the Vortex shares, you are amazing. Thank you for reminding us that we are with you. Yes, well, actually, it's more like we are one, right? Rather than you're with me, right? Because I mean, we're in this we experience. This is all a part of the unity consciousness, and we are in this together, right? So, in that light, there's no hierarchy of, listen to me because otherwise you suck. There's none of that going on. And if you're seeing some of that going on, then, I don't, you might want to change a channel there. Yes, and all of us have that connection to God. And that brings me to the last piece around what true power is connected to, and it is oneness. So anything that's making you believe that we're divided, that, there's us versus them, and, we're all divided by, what we look like or what our affiliations are or how our lifestyles are and all this crap, right? Of, categorization. And of course, like I get it, the human within us, it's really important to categorize and make sense of things. And at the same time, it also doesn't mean anything, because we're one. So whenever you see people and you start having judgments, like that's a time to get a little introspective and, because the inner work never stops. When you really truly reach a place of mastery, you realize that the work never ends. And so when you start noticing that you're getting really reactionary and judgy on people, that's when you say, oh, why am I getting so triggered on that? Why does that bother me so much? Right? Oh, okay. So it reminds me of so and so from my childhood, right? And so that's an indication that something has not been healed, right? So that's really, really important to remember. And so I mentioned about what true power is connected to. Now I'm going to share with you what false power is connected to. And it's basically all the opposites of what I just mentioned that connects you to true power. And so number one that I'm going to mention is scarcity. Scarcity is connected to false power. And the reason why that's number one is because there's a scarcity programming that has rolled out into the mainstream, that has rolled out into our lives, and a lot of you don't have enough, like you're gonna die, you're not supported, things are gonna happen, like a lot of that, even just the energy of that is very constricting, right? It's a very constricting energy. But that is part of the intention of the scarcity programming. It's very much connected to fear and what you are afraid to lose and what you are afraid that you don't have, right? So that's also where your inner work comes to play. If you are getting highly triggered right now around scarcity within the scarcity program, such as, I don't have enough love, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough resources, I don't have enough time, anything where you feel you don't have enough, that's scarcity programming. And that is 100% all a lie. Because the reality is that no matter where you come from, no matter who you are and how you were brought up, everyone, every single one of us has access to everything that we want. And the only thing that holds us back is really that belief that we can't, right? Uh, Someone's sharing here, sometimes I don't know if it's God or the scarcity program. And see, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's so good. It's so effective, I'll just say, right? And so let me just give you some clarity there, Kalum, Jewel. Some scarcity will look like you're not going to be good enough if you don't do this, right? You don't have it. You're not no one loves you, right? Like all that judgy stuff, that is scarcity programming. Like God will, will be that frequency of higher knowing, of higher understanding. It is not like judging you. It's going to be something that, and this is also very much connected to your intuition too, right? Because your intuition is an aspect of God. And you are an aspect of God. So you too are God. And that intel comes through the intuition. So if you start to get really connected to your intuition and actually operate on, act on your intuition, you actually strengthen it, and you will start strengthening that understanding of your intel. And so, anything that's fear and scarcity will put you down, will make you feel horrible. And not because, because there's also a way to feel really challenged and scared because you're being invited into the next level of your power, right? And that's a whole different thing. So don't confuse your fear with you being invited into the next level of your power, because you being invited into the next level of your power guaranteed will make you feel like, my intuition tells me that this is not aligned, right? And the truth is, you're just scared, right? That's not your intuition talking, that's your fear. So, when you're really connected with your heart, that's actually a no-brainer. So if you're not really connected with your heart, that's where I'd start. Um, and uh, and so that was what I have covered for today. And I'm seeing some questions here, and I'll answer them in a moment. But I'm just going to recap on the topic today and what was covered. So today, our topic was the number one thing leaders of light need to remember now. And I covered why you're feeling overwhelmed by what's going on. The number one thing leaders of light need to remember now in order to transcend and lead your movement, and also how to bust through the outdated patterns that are holding you back from your power, which then brought us to the difference between true power and false power, talked about attributes of each so that you can get some discernment about what you are experiencing right now, right? So I'm seeing a question here. I met a person from my past life recently and he triggers me so much. What do you suggest me to do? Heal it, right? Heal it. Look, get curious, don't resist. By all means, do not resist dealing and addressing that thing that triggers you, because the more that you resist, the more it persists, as the saying says. So go in, go get still. You should all be meditating on some level or cultivating some sense of stillness in your life. And that way, when you do, you are actually cultivating your power, and you're also cultivating your higher consciousness, because it will, when you do that and you cultivate your higher consciousness in such a way, you actually come back to center much more quickly, because it's not that distractions never happen once you're in your power, but you're able to transmute it very quickly and come back to center very quickly. And so that's something that I do very easily now, but in the beginning, it was a lot of, being mindful. Okay, I'm getting triggered by this person. Okay, why is that? And just get curious. Don't get all judgy on yourself, because that will help no one, especially you. So just start with, that's interesting. That person really triggers me. Why is that? Ah, okay. So he makes me feel, or she makes me feel a certain way. And first of all, no one can make you feel anything that, that is not aligned for you, right? That's more about that's about taking responsibility, right? So that's something to to take note of. And so get curious. Why is this person triggering me? See if there's a correlation with some trigger that you have that's still unhealed. And even if you've done a lot of work, there's always more to do, right? Because that's true mastery, to know that there's always more to learn and more to open into the next level and the next level and the next level. And so once you understand what that comes from, then do the work to clear that, whether that be something that you do some healing work on your own, or you go see a healer to transmute that energy or clear out certain things. That's when you start really doing that inner work. So I hope that answered your question. Let me know if what I shared today around the number one thing leaders of light need to remember now, if what I've shared has helped you, and if you have any questions specifically about what we covered today. So I'm seeing some comments come in. Yeah, someone is sharing horror movies trigger me like crazy. I used to love them, but I can't watch them anymore. Yeah, that's really interesting because I actually was the queen of horror movies. I was like a punk rocker. I'm just like, I know all the B movies. I know all the, you know, series and like everything, right? Like, and I took pride in that, and the gorier the better, right? And but the reality is, as I just started living my life, and my life just took a different turn, and in fact, I don't like watching that stuff anymore. And in fact, because a lot of it is depending on the patient, a lot of that stuff is real life. Like especially when it comes to like entities and things like that. I'm like, yeah, I do that for a living. I don't need to like watch it over and over all the time, right? So that's the reality, is that as you just start to elevate your frequency, anything that's not resonating at that frequency just kind of falls away. You just simply just lose interest. You just don't feel like it. You just don't want it. Like, I mean, that happens with what you're ingesting through content on the TV, or on your screen. That happens also with foods. Like sometimes your body will just be like, nope, not liking it, don't want it, not ever, right? And so there's a lot of changes that are going on in your body, in your psyche, in your energy field. And so it's really about you choosing your frequency. And that's why I'm always talking about, leading the energy rather than it leading you. Because if you're being led by all the emotions and whatever you're feeling, you're going to just be all over the place, right? And the shit hasn't even really hit the fan yet. I mean, it has, but it's going to actually get more intense. And I'm not sharing this with you to scare you. I'm sharing this with you because now is the time for you to start honing your power. Now is the time for you to start claiming who you really are, rather than like, oh, I'm shy, like, oh, I'm really not that amazing. I'm really not that big. Yes, you are. Now you get to take ownership of it, right? Okay. Um, Sakura Hair Beauty says, I have many fears that sometimes cause me nightmares. I am a new Reiki practitioner, so I would like to heal myself first, then start on others. I do meditation and self Reiki every day for months, but I think there's a continuation here. Let me see if there's a continuation. Okay. I guess that was the end of that comment. So here's the thing, is that when you are new as a Reiki practitioner, as an energy worker, you do not need to be completely healed in order to show up as a healer. You do not. If you're a hot ass mess and you're falling apart at the seams, then no, I don't recommend that you do a session, right? But if you are fine tuning things, clearing things out, but you're still connected to your power, your light, for a fact you're showing up in service for your client or your patient, then just do the thing, right? Like help them out. Because as you know, when you're a Reiki practitioner, you are a conduit for Reiki energy, which means that you are also receiving as you're channeling it out, right? So as you know, I'm also a Reiki master practitioner, Reiki master teacher, a licensed acupuncturist, a shaman. It's really medicine woman. That's really the way to call it. And also an activator of the divine power codes on the DNA level. So I do have some perspective on how to approach these things. And so you do not need to be completely healed in order to show up and serve. If you are coming from like a gaping wound and you're completely coming from this unhealed, highly triggered place, I do not recommend doing work, especially channeling on any level. And that's more like psychic medium stuff I'm talking about too, because I can't tell you how many people who say they're psychics who are like, yes, I channel Yeshua, I channel Mary, I channel, Great Pharaoh, I channel Cleopatra, all this stuff, yet they haven't cleared out their energy. And so that's not Cleopatra that you're channeling. That's usually something else. Okay. So that's why you really want to get clear on your energy so that you are, knowing that you're connected and then you can serve. So I hope that helps. Um, Christina is saying, is it okay to set boundaries if it triggers us? 110%. 110%. Put in those energy boundaries. That is the difference between an empowered empath and an invisible disempowered empath. The disempowered empath does not have healthy energy boundaries. And I can't tell you how many DMs I've gotten with certain light workers who are like, take, tell me this, tell me that, and all this other stuff. And then I put up a boundary and then they get pissed off and they start calling me like low vibration. Which is so hilarious because if you're really at a high vibration, you're not saying that to somebody, right? So, the boundaries need to happen. And, don't take it personally, right? When people have a reaction, that's not because you're a bad person. It's because they don't like having, boundaries put on them. They don't like no longer having their meal to siphon from. Okay. So that's why you want to put healthy energy boundaries. That doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a healthy person, a healthy empath. And especially if you're doing work in service for other people, whatever that looks like, doesn't have to be necessarily healing work, but it could be even healing in certain different atmospheres that don't look traditionally healing even, because there are light workers, in media, in corporate, and all kinds of places. So hell yeah, put up those energy boundaries that are healthy, that are aligned with what it is you desire to create in your life. Okay, I see another question here. What about guidance that feels forceful? I feel like many confuse intuition guidance with fear-based energies. Yes, I just spoke into that. In general, it feels urgent or like there's only one way. I find that's not the way. So there are many ways to do all things, right? And there's always a more aligned way. So sometimes the guidance can be urgent if you're not listening, right? Because if you are if you're getting guidance, because the truth is you're always getting guidance, and if you keep ignoring the guidance over and over and over, first, one thing that happens is that it all starts out in this energy field here and then comes closer and closer and closer and closer until it's then in the physical body. And by that time, then you're creating physical manifestations of your imbalances, which is then why people then come to see me in my office, right? So the reality is that, there's a difference between fear and guidance. And I've already spoken to it earlier, but I'll just say quickly that just because it feels scary does not mean it's automatically fear, okay? Because you will automatically, guaranteed, feel petrified, horrified, scared out of your mind when you are being invited into the next level of your power, which will entail you to become a version of yourself that is higher than you've ever been before. And if you are expecting high level results and you're not willing to change anything about your mindset, about your approach, about your perspective, about your capability, then you're going to be barking up the wrong tree and you're not going to get the results that you want. Juita is saying, hi Margarita, this is the first time I'm watching your live. Welcome, welcome. I've been incorporating a lot of letting go routines. It's slowly helping. Yes, awesome job. Keep going. And I know that you're not the only one, Juita. I know that there are a lot of people here who are doing that letting go stuff. And it's like, it almost feels like it's on a purge, right? It's almost like purge level at this point. And just keep going, but make sure you replenish. Make sure you replenish, because one of the things about being a medicine woman, when you do shamanic work and you take out, the concept is you also put back in, meaning that when you remove things that no longer serve you, you infuse it with what does, with what nourishes you, you know? And Juita says, yes, I'm losing interest in my best friend. Kind of sad, but I think I'm impressed to do so, being pressed to do so. And you're right about that, right? Because that's actually part of what happens when you are really stepping up into the fullness of your power, when you truly awaken, right? Is that you start to vibrate at a different level. And so what happens is that anything that's not vibrating at that same level will then just kind of fall away. And that's something that a lot of spiritual people don't talk about, that it gets really ugly and you get do a lot of ugly crying and there's a lot of, things happening, mascara running and all that action, right? When you are really truly awakening. It's not this cute daffodils in the park experience, right? It is this gut wrenching, how could this happen? I can't believe this has been my best friend for eons, right? And it's not coming from a place of judgment either. It's just simply how would I call it? It's an aspect of congruence, of energetic congruence. And if they're no longer energy congruent to you, because literally, basically, you're here, and not to say like they're lower than you, right? But they're in a different level, right? And they are haven't grown maybe the way you have grown. And so that's not to put a judgment on them or on you. It's just simply it's no longer congruent, right? And so what will happen then is anything that's not congruent with your energy, as you rise and as you show up in the world, you will start to vibrate more highly. And all those things that do not vibrate at that level and are congruent with your energy, they will fall away. And then you will also receive and bring in those who are at your level, right? So that's actually a really great thing to look forward to. So I'm going to take one more question and then I'm going to wrap up for today. But I'm loving these questions. And I'm glad that's helpful for you, Kaloum, and Danielle too. Okay. Yeah, and I love this. I only call on Jesus and God for channeling, says Lacey Jane. That's 100% the way to go, because here's the thing is that there are a lot of people, and I used to do this too, who channel middle people, right? Who channel gods and goddesses, even archangels, I mean, there's a time and place for everything. But the truth is that you don't need a middle person. You have a direct line to God, right? So you don't need like middle people to help you with stuff. You can just like channel it in. And that's what I do. I don't call in gods and goddesses and, middle people. I just go straight to the source. And that's why the work is so effective. And that helps keep you clear. So that's really, really important. Okay, let's see. Okay. So I'm seeing some talk about addictions. Sugar is the last one I'm struggling with, and I feel like I keep losing connection with God. Yeah, so yeah, and I'm seeing the earlier part of the comment. I literally dropped being transgender, changed country, dropped all addictions, but sugar is the last one I'm struggling with, and I feel like I keep losing connection with God. So the thing is that that's a lot of change. Congratulations to you, and also that's a lot of change. So when you change a lot like that, understand that you're going to feel a little like whoa for a little bit, right? And so this is normal. Just don't let yourself stay off balance. Find your center, get grounded, connect to Gaia's frequency, anchor yourself in Gaia's frequency. And this is something that I teach my private clients too. So, and the whole sugar thing, that's like a lot of the sugar stuff is like comfort eating stuff, and so this might be a good time. I'll just say to see what else can comfort you other than food, and also what is that sugar craving really telling you. So you might even actually literally talk to your sugar craving And that I do that like if my shoulder's like out of whack or something, and it keeps popping up, and of course the shoulder, for instance, is at the level of the throat. So I might like inquire, oh, am I not speaking my truth in a certain instance? Am I feeling silenced? I don't know, right? So there's that. And sometimes I'll just actually speak to my shoulder and be like, what are you holding? What are you trying to tell me? Your body is not the enemy. Um, and the more you talk to your body like someone you really, really, really love, with a lot of care and a lot of compassion and empathy, the more you're going to get from your body being on board with everything you're doing. Okay. I'm seeing a question here from Letitia Popa. What do you recommend when falling out of alignment? How do you get back up? So for me, as I mentioned earlier, I notice very quickly because I'm very connected with my energy, and I see immediately as soon as like a hair starts going out of alignment that I'm like, oh, there it is, like I notice it immediately. And then I just go, okay, shoop, and I bring it back in. And like, if something like upsets me, like I said, I have my moment and then I get over it, and then I go into transmuting it, right? But if you're not at that place yet and you're falling out of alignment, just notice first of all how you're feeling. So, feel it in your body. Like, what am I feeling in my body? Okay, where am I? Like, if you're most likely you're feeling it somewhere in your body. So, okay, I'm feeling a little off. Start inquiring, get curious. I'm feeling a little off. Where am I holding that? Okay, I'm feeling it in my solar plexus chakra, for instance, right? If you're feeling it in your belly. Okay, what am I feeling there? What is the emotion I'm noticing coming up for me? And I know this sounds really like nitpicky, but believe me, the more you break it down, the more you see that it's not actually as big a deal as you think. And it's a lot more doable to address and heal and transcend. So, get connected to what exactly that is. Maybe, and then you can even say, when did that begin? Oh, okay, it began when this person started talking to me about such and such, right? So then got curious about that topic. Am I still getting triggered by this topic XYZ? And then just go deeper and go deeper and go deeper. And just like keep on following all the breadcrumbs until you just go into the root layer, and then heal that, right? And then after you find out exactly what it is, you interrupt the pattern. So let's say it's reminding you of your abandonment issues, right? So then you say, oh, okay, so that's still unhealed. So what is it that I need to, so is that the truth? Is it true that I am truly abandoned? The answer you're likely going to get is no, because if you're believing that, that's a lie, and you get to transmute that. And then if that's a lie, if it's false, then what is the truth? The truth could be, I actually feel like I'm not enough when such and such happens in my life. And the truth is, I am enough, right? So even when this happens, XYZ, it happens, I am enough, and I completely love and accept myself. You can even do some tapping. Some people like to do the tapping, like the karate chop point, they call it, but it's actually, let's see, one, two, SI3, small intestine 3 in acupuncture. But, if you're not in acupuncture, they call it the karate chop point. So, there's some like tapping things, there are tools. So you basically learn what your tools are, and you see what works, and then you just gather your tools. By now, I got a whole toolbox, and that's why, that's what I source from. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Azra is saying, can you say how to lower your empath energy from taking other people's feelings? First of all, you don't lower your energy, right? You don't ever need to lower your energy. But in terms of from taking other people's feelings, that begins with you being connected with your own energy. And that means you don't take on everyone else's, right? And I'm going to give you a little story. One of my patients, when I first met her, she was really possessed, like full on numerous entities, right? And she still managed to make it into my private practice office. So like her will was stronger than the entities, right? Which was a good sign already. But the truth is that Um, she told me that because she's an empath, she felt it was her responsibility to be open and to take it all away, from people. And we live in New York City. She lives in New York City. And there are a lot of people in New York City. And so she was literally walking around, allowing herself to be an open vortex for other people's energies and all their feelings and all of their, being pissed off and angry and hurt and all this other stuff, right? Do not recommend. I do not recommend that. That is the fastest way to clogging up your energy frequency. So, number one, the whole point of that, cities are not necessarily dangerous. Everywhere is dangerous, right? You just learn how to, you know, hone real quick, right? And I definitely did. Like, I've been in New York City like over half my life. And I've gotten a lot of tools, and I don't get distracted. There's all kinds of things going on outside my window. There's all kinds of energies trying to, work on New York City, and it's not even a part of my energy field. So the way you do it is you really step into your sovereignty. You make a choice to be in your sovereignty. Connect with those aspects of true power I mentioned earlier, and really get clear on what your energy is and what it is not. So that means clearing out your energy first, of everything that doesn't belong to you. And, that can look like many different things. I'm not going to go into all the details of that, but you can do smudging and, statements and all this other stuff. So you clear your energy, and then you also get connected to what your energy feels like to you. And once you do, then anytime someone else's energy starts coming in to your energy field, you're like, oh, you'll like notice it very quickly. And you're like, oh, that's not mine. And that could be also an energy boundary right there, is stating that is not mine. Excuse me, that is not my energy, right? So I hope that helps. It really begins with making a choice to be empowered, to decide to step in your power and be empowered, and every choice that it's aligned with your power, and that you are connecting with only your energy, not everyone else's, and you're clearing out energy often. Um, and especially if you do cosmic work, by the way, because, I'm a star seed. I'm very highly connected with, um, galactic forces, the Star Nation. These galactic beings are so amazing, but I'm also very effective at being grounded in Gaia. There are too many star seeds who are just stuck up in the cosmos and love and light and, star beings and all that, but then they're not grounded on the earthly realm, which then looks like, they don't charge for any of their services, they don't know how to pay their bills, they hate being incarnated on the planet Earth, and all this other stuff that is really not part of being in your power, So that's just something to make note of. All right. All right, so I've answered all the questions that I was going to answer for now, but I hope that helped you. And today's topic, once again, the number one thing leaders of light need to remember now. If you're just joining us, make sure you check out the replay, and there will be a replay on Instagram here and also on Facebook, because I always simulcast my lives, which is why you might see my eye contact going like this every so often. And so yeah, I hope that serves you. And if you are already connected with your purpose and your heart power, and you've done already that inner work, and you're no longer coming from this highly triggered place, and you know that you are ready to go into the next level of your power and ready to commit to that, even though it scares you, then drop me a DM of what your lightworker purpose is. And then let's talk. And we can talk about next steps, because I would love to support you in what that could look like, because, you can do it on your own. Of course, you don't need me to be in your power. But here's one thing I'm going to say is that I do provide the shortcut. So I make the difference between you lone wolfing it for 5 or 10 years in the middle of a planetary awakening, or being in your power now and embodied, because it's really that quick. Power activations They happen on the DNA level. It's an embodiment. Your whole body operates from that system from then on. So it's a very powerful work. And if you feel you are ready for that, and again, I don't do single sessions, so keep that in mind. DM me your powerful light worker purpose, which is not heal people or help people, right? We all do that. So, what is your specific purpose? DM me that and let's talk. And I wish you a powerful week full of love, light, and power.